Yesterday there was some network problem, so we were not able to complete section C. So today I would like to discuss section C with you. We were doing C5, causes of pollution. Now, can anyone tell me what are the causes of pollution?
Dumping of garbage in water.
Dumping of industrial and domestic waste in rivers and ponds.
Yes.
Washing cattle in the river.
Very good.
Discharge of untreated chemical waste into rivers.
Yes.
Throwing
what are the dangers? What are the dangers we face?
Ma'am, water became unsafe for drinking. It is acidic.
Yes, it becomes unsafe for drinking. Water becomes unsafe for drinking. Then,
if we throw paint in
one by one, raise your hand. Raise your hand. One by one. Yes, Ayushi Patel.
Ma'am, mosquitoes can be
mosquitoes breeding ground, but I don't think rivers will have a mosquito breeding ground. Rivers don't have. Running water is there, na? So running water, mosquitoes cannot have breeding ground over there. What else? It becomes unsafe for drinking. Now, what are the other points? Due to the industrial
aquatic
waste,
life
what happens?
Affected.
Industrial
Aquatic
waste.
life
it becomes acidic.
Danger for the life of aquatic animals.
Yes, it becomes a danger for the aquatic animals. Yes, it is dangerous for the animals, water animals.
If we throw paint in river, it will harmful for the marine life.
Marine life, yes. Yes, any other point?
Ma'am, aquatic weeds will grow. Aquatic weeds will grow.
Okay. Now, can you prepare, actually here it is written, prepare a speech for the morning assembly on the topic, save your environment, save yourself. Then can you prepare a speech?
Yes, ma'am.
Save your environment, save yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what points will you include in this? What points will you increase?
Ma'am, do not cut trees.
Huh?
Ma'am, do not throw garbages. Use less transport as possible.
Yes.
And we should use a cycle instead of car or buses.
Yes.
And
now
avoid using of refrigerator and ACs.
Now, children, in this you can include all types of pollution: water pollution, air pollution, land pollution, all this you can. Air pollution, water pollution, and one more pollution is what? Sound pollution.
Noise pollution.
Noise, yes, sound pollution. All types of pollution you can add. Yes. Anyone wants to say anything about this? Now, air pollution, how can you stop air pollution?
Ma'am, if we cut trees,
first of all, by planting trees. Aditya Hansraj, give the answer. Akansha, give the answer.
Ma'am, if we by planting more and more trees.
Yes, by planting more and more trees, then
Ma'am, and by not avoiding crackers.
Not bursting crackers during festivals. Yes. Air pollution. How can you check air pollution?
Ma'am, when the red light is on, stopping the engine of our vehicle.
Yes. By not by stopping the engine. Yes.
By doing
using
carpool.
by using bicycle also we can check. How? Because less vehicles will be on the road then.
Less burning of fossil fuels.
Yes. Then water pollution. Just now we have discussed.
Ma'am, distribute two types of dustbin, biodegradable and non-biodegradable.
Yes. Two types of garbage we should keep: biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Then using lesser making lesser use of plastic.
Use carpool.
Huh?
Using jute bags.
Using jute bags. Yes.
Ma'am, by
Ma'am, switch
reusing
off the
papers
lights.
and not wastage of paper.
Yes, not
Ma'am,
wasting
switch off
paper,
the
because
lights
for
when.
paper, trees are cut for making paper. So if we don't waste paper, then we can save the trees.
Ma'am,
Yes.
when
Good
we are
morning,
not in the
ma'am.
room, we should switch off the lights.
Yes, when you are not in the room, you should switch off the
We
light.
should
You should turn off the
we should
taps
follow.
when the water is not being used. Yes,
We
any
should
other?
follow the rule of R3s.
Follow
Ma'am,
the rule of?
by
Reduce, reuse,
saving
and recycle.
natural resources.
Yes, we should save the natural resources also, not waste the
By
natural
celebrating
resources.
one Mahotsav festival.
Ma'am, 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 what is the meaning of immemorial?
Time immemorial. Where is it?
Ma'am, 93.
Page 93.
Yes, ma'am.
That cannot be remembered.
Let me see. 93. 93 we have
Ma'am,
not
why
done.
we should take care of the river Ganga?
Acha, River Ganga, 83. Time immemorial means from very long time. Where is it? Where is it given? Yes.
Ma'am, third line.
Riches, yeah. Meditation of sages from time immemorial means from very long time, ancient times. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now we will do, children, the cherry tree. It's a very nice story written by Ruskin Bond.
Ma'am.
Are you familiar with Ruskin Bond?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, anyone wants to say anything?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we should save wildlife.
We should save wildlife, yes. No, but we are talking about pollution, children.
Excuse
That is
me,
a
ma'am.
different. Yes.
Ma'am, this chapter was completed. Ma'am, Rekha ma'am had made us complete this chapter.
Acha, anyway, because I was not there on that day, let us read this. You have read this chapter? This one? The cherry tree?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
let us read this.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like Ayushi Patel, you start reading. Now, children,
The
Ruskin
cherry.
Bond, you are familiar with Ruskin Bond? Which story of
Yes, ma'am.
Ruskin Bond have you read?
ma'am, Daddy wonders what he want to be when he grow up.
Anyone else? You have read many stories, children. Last year, which story
Yes.
did you read? Ruskin Bond. Monkey
Ma'am,
Trouble.
Ma'am,
two.
Was
Granny's tree
chapter
climbing.
1.
Monkey trouble.
Monkey Trouble. Yes. This
Ma'am,
year,
Granny's tree climbing.
yes, this
Tree
year you have read Granny's Tree Climbing. In class 6, which story did you read?
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
there was
first
an
chapter.
In class 6?
Ma'am, Daddy,
No.
Ma'am, the white elephant.
Because of
White
it's
elephant.
the white
The
elephant.
white elephant, yes. So, in from 6th, 7th, 8th, all three classes you have read Ruskin
Ma'am,
Bond. And you are familiar with Ruskin
blue
Bond also.
blue umbrella.
Yes. Now, Ruskin Bond was an Englishman, but they were settled in India. So, his parents, his grandparents have been living in India. And so, he was also born and brought up here only. Now we are going to read The Cherry Tree. Ayushi Patel, read.
The cherry tree. One day when Rakesh was 6, he walked home from the Morris Bazaar eating cherries.
No. 1 minute. Morris nahi, it is Masuri. Masuri is a place, hill station. From the
Masuri
Masuri Bazaar.
Masuri Bazaar eating cherries. They were a little sweet, a little so. Small, bright
Sar.
red, a little sour, small, bright red cherries which had come all the way from the Kashmir Valley. Here in the Himalayan foothills where Rakesh lived, there were not many fruit trees. The soil was stony and dry cold winds turned the growth of most plants. But the
One
more
minute. 1 minute.
sheltered
The soil was stony and dry cold winds stunted the growth of many plants. What do you mean by stunted?
to stop.
ma'am,
Yes.
stop.
stopped
Stunted
the
means
growth of
stop.
many plants.
Stop.
Stop the growth of many plants. Because of the cold wind, the plants did not grow. Yes. But on
But
the
on the but on the more sheltered slopes there were forests of oak and deodar. Rakesh lived with his grandfather on the outskirts of the
Masuri,
Masuri, but
just
just
where
just where the forest began. His father and mother lived in a small village 50 miles away, where they grew maize and rice and barley in narrow terraced fields on the lower slopes of the mountains. But there were no schools in the village, and Rakesh's parents were keen that he should go to school. As soon as he was of school going age, they sent him to stay with his grandfather in Missouri. Grandfather was a retired forest ranger. He had a little cottage outside the town. Rakesh was on his way home from the school when he bought the cherries. He paid 50 paise for the bunch. It took him about half an hour to walk home. And by the time he reached the cottage, there were only 3 cherries left. Have a
okay.
cherry,
1 minute. Stop. Now next, Akansha, read.
Have a cherry grandfather. He said as soon as he saw his grandfather and grandfather look one cherry and Rakesh promptly ate the other two. He kept the last seed in his mouth for some time, rolling in round and round on his tongue until all the tang has gone. Then he placed the seed on the palm of his hand and studied it. Are cherry
ma'am,
seeds
ma'am,
lucky?
excuse me, ma'am.
Asked
Yes.
Rakesh.
Ma'am, what is the meaning of tang?
Tang is the
T
taste.
A.
Taste.
Of
Yes.
course, then I will keep it. Nothing is lucky if you put it away. If you want luck put it some use. What can I do with a seed? Plant it. So Rakesh found a small shade and began a dig up the flower bed. Hey, not there. Grandfather said, I have sown mustard in the bed. Plant is that steady corner where it won't be disturbed. Rakesh went to the corner of the garden and the earth was soft and yielding. He did not have to dig. He pressed the seed into the soil with his thumb and it went right in. Uh, then he had his lunch and ran off to play cricket with his friends and forgot all about the cherry seed. A few months later, one morning in the garden, Rakesh went picking out he thought was a small twig, and he found his surprise that it was well rooted.
Okay, okay.
He started.
Okay, stop, stop. Next, next, who would like to read?
Srija.
Divya Raj.
Ma'am Aditya.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
after this.
He Okay, ma'am. He started at it for a moment, then ran to fetch grandfather, calling Dada, come and look, the cherry tree has come up.
One
What
minute,
cherry
one
tree?
minute, 1 minute. He stared. Stared means what
To
is the
look.
meaning of stare?
Ma'am, घूरना.
Ghurna, yes. He stared at it for a moment. That means he kept on looking at that thing for a moment and then ran to fetch grandfather. What is the meaning of fetch?
To call.
To
To
call.
bring.
Call.
Yes, to call or
Bring.
to bring with him. He went to call grandfather. That means not calling, but going and bringing him there. Dada, come and look at the cherry tree has come up. Okay, now continue.
Grandfather, who had forgotten about it. The seed we planted last year, look, it's come up. Rakesh went down on his hunches while grandfather bent almost double and peered down at the tiny tree. It was about 4 inches high. Yes, it's a cherry tree, said grandfather. You should water it now and then. Rakesh ran indoors and come back with a bucket of water. Don't drown it, said grandfather. Rakesh gave it a sprinkling and circled it with pebbles. What are the pebbles for? Asked grandfather. For privacy, said Rakesh. He looked at the tree every morning, but it did not seem to be growing very fast. So he stopped looking at it, except quickly, out of the corner of his eye. And after a week or two, when he allowed himself to look at it properly, he found that it had grown at least 10 inches. That year, the monsoon rains came early, and the cherry
Early,
tree
early.
grew quickly in this season. It was about 2 feet high when a goat entered the garden and ate all the leaves. Only the main stem and the two thin branches remained. Never mind this, said grandfather, seeing that Rakesh was upset. It will grow again. Cherry trees are tough. Towards the end of the rainy season, new leaves appeared on the tree. Then a woman cutting grass scrambled down the hillside, her scythe swishing through the heavy monsoon foliage. She did not try to avoid the tree. One sweep, and the cherry tree was in cut.
Okay, now stop. Aditya Hansraj, Aditya Raj, sorry, Aditya Raj, read.
When grandfather saw what had happened, he went after the woman and scolded her. But the damage could not be repaired. Maybe it will die now, said Rakesh. Maybe, said grandfather. But the cherry tree had no intention of dying. By the time summer came round again, it had sent out several new shoots with tender green leaves. Rakesh had grown taller too. He was 8 now, a sturdy boy with curly black hair and deep black eyes. Blackberry eyes, grandfathers called them. That monsoon, Rakesh went home to his village to help his father and mother with the planting and plugging and sowing. He was thinner but stronger when he came back to grandfather's house at the end of the rain to find that the cherry tree had grown another foot. It was now up to his chest. Even where there was rain, Rakesh would sometime water the tree. He wanted it to know that he was there. One day he found a bright green praying mantis perched on a branch, peering at him with plugging eyes. Rakesh let it remain there. It was the cherry tree's first visitor. The next visitor was a heavy, hairy caterpillar who started making a meal of the leaves. Rakesh removed it quickly and dropped it on a heap of dried leaves. There's, there are pretty leaves, said Rakesh, and they are always ready to dance if there's a breeze.
Okay,
After
stop.
grandfather had
Stop.
commander,
Stop. Ananya Singh, read.
After grandfather had come indoors, Rakesh went into the garden and lay down on the grass beneath the tree. He gazed up through the leaves at the great blue sky and turning on his side. He could see the mountains striding away into the
Striding
clouds.
away.
He was striding away into the clouds. He was still lying beneath the tree when the evening shadows crept across the garden. Grandfather came back and sat down beside Rakesh, and they waited in silence until the star came out and the night nightjar began to call. In the forest below, the crickets and cicadas began turning up, and suddenly the tree was full of the sound of insects. There are so many trees in the forest, said Rakesh. What is so special about this tree? Why do we call it so much? We planted it ourselves, said grandfather. That's why it's special. Just one small seed, said Rakesh, and he touched the smooth bark of the tree that had grown. He ran his hand along the trunk of the tree and put his finger to the tip of a leaf. I wonder, he whispered, is this what it feels to be God?
Now, have you understood the story, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Why have
Yes,
they
ma'am.
given this story here in the chapter Nature? Why? What is the purpose of giving this story?
Because in this story, a boy named Rakesh has planted a tree and he is very attached to it emotionally. And
No, he
he
has not
became
planted a tree. He has, what has he done? He has put a seed in the
Seed
soil,
in
and
the
how that seed turns into a plant and later on into a tree. Now he's saying, last line, see the last line. I wonder, is this what it feels to be God? Just like God created this whole universe, same way, this boy, he's saying that when you put a seed into the soil and then the tree comes out, you must be feeling the same way as God feels when he sees his uh, creation. So that is why it's written, is this what it feels to be God? Now you become the God of that tree because you have planted it. Yes, it's a nice story or not?
yes, ma'am.
I would like other students also to read the story, children. Now,
Ma'am,
Divya
can I?
Raj. Divya Raj, read. Start reading The Cherry Tree. Divya Raj, read
मैम मैंने रीड
from
कर
the
दिया है।
beginning. Huh?
जी मैम। One day, when Rakesh was 6, he walked home from the Masuri Bazaar eating cherries. They were a little sweet, a little sour, small, bright red cherries. We had come all the way from the Kashmir Valley. Here, in the Himalayan foothills where Rakesh lived, there were not many fruit trees. The soil was stony, and the dry, cold winds stunned the growth of the most plants. But on the more sheltered slopes,
There were forests of the oak and deodar. Rakesh lived with his grandfather on the outskirts of Mussoorie, just where the forest began. His father and mother lived in a small village 50 miles away, where they grew maize and rice and barley in narrow terraced fields on the lower slopes of the mountain. But there were no schools in the village, and Rakesh's parents were keen that he should go to school as soon as he was of school going age. They sent him to stay with his grandfather in Missouri.
Okay, stop.
Grandfather was a
Stop. Now, children, one day when Rakesh was 6, he walked home from Masuri Bazaar eating cherries. Now, how did he grow this tree? Once, when he was eating cherry, he one cherry seed he had with him. They were little sweet and sour, small, bright red cherry which had come all the way from Kashmir Valley. Now, where do the cherries grow? In Kashmir. And from there, these cherries had come. And while eating, what did he do? He kept one seed with him. Now, let's see what happens after this. Janvi Singh, read.
Yes, ma'am. Grandfather was a retired forest ranger. He had a little cottage outside the town. Rakesh was way home from school when he bought the cherries. It slid past the bus. It took him about half an hour to get home, and by the time he reached the cottage where there were many cherries, he had cherries as soon as he saw his grandfather in the garden. Grandfather took one cherry and Rakesh promptly ate the other two. He kept the last seed in his mouth for some time, rolling it round and round on his tongue until all the tang had gone. Then he took the cherry in the
Tang
palm
had
of
gone.
his hand and
So the
studied it.
taste had gone.
Are cherry seeds lucky? Asked Rakesh. Of course, they are lucky, but if
Okay,
they
stop, stop.
if you weren't lucky, you
I would like Divya Raj to read.
Ma'am, she only read it now.
Ma'am, it's the
Acha,
third
she has
sentence.
read. Okay, okay. Shrija, read.
Okay, ma'am. Are cherry seeds lucky? Asked Rakesh. Of course. Then I'll keep it. Nothing is lucky if you put it away. If you want luck, you must put it to some use. What can I do with a seed? Plant it. So Rakesh found a small spade and began to dig up a flower bed. Hey, not there, said grandfather. I've sown mustard in that bed. Plant it in that shady corner where it won't be disturbed. Rakesh went to a corner of the garden where the earth was soft and yielding. He did not have to dig. He pressed the seed into the soil with his thumb and it went right in. Then he had his lunch and ran off to play cricket with his friends and forgot all about the cherry seed. A few months later, one morning in the garden, Rakesh bent to pick up what he thought was a small twig and found to his surprise that it was well rooted. He stared at it for a moment, then ran to fetch grandfather, calling, Dada, come and look, the cherry tree has come up. What cherry tree? Asked grandfather, who had forgotten about it. The seed we planted last year. Look, it's come up. Rakesh went down on his haunches while grandfather bent almost double and peered down at the tiny tree. It was about 4 inches high. Yes, it's a cherry tree, said grandfather. You should water it now and then.
Okay,
Rakesh
okay,
ran in.
stop. Now, Rakesh went down on his haunches. What do you mean by haunches?
Ma'am, the portion combining of hip and the thigh.
Yes. Now, when you bend down to pick up something, what do you do? That same position. He bent down on his hips. Yes, that is the position. Now, and grandfather also, why did they bend down? To see the plant. A small plant had come out. He had sown that seed in the ground, and now a small plant has come out. So they were looking at that plant. bending down and looking at that plant. Anyone else would like to read? Shrija, you read very well.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Who would
Ma'am
like to read?
Ayushi.
Ayushi, you have already read, na?
Ma'am Ayushi.
I want others also to participate in this. Abhiraj, read. Abhiraj, read. Abhay Raj, 8B, read.
Yes, it's a cherry tree, said grandfather. You should water it now and then. Rakesh ran indoor and come back a bucket of water. Don't drown it, said grandfather. Rakesh gave it a sprinkling and circled it with pebbles. What are the pebbles for? Asked grandfather. For privacy, said Rakesh. He
1 minute.
looked at the
Stop,
tree
stop,
every
stop.
morning, but it did not seem to be growing.
1 minute. Stop. Now he's saying he sprinkled and circled it with pebbles. What are pebbles?
Stones, small
Ma'am
stones.
little
No.
Small
stones.
stones.
Small stones.
Little
Stones. Yes.
stones.
Small round stones are called pebbles. You must have seen it in the riverside or on the sand. In the sea beach or riverside, you will see round stones. Absolutely round. It may be oval also, it can be round also. Those stones are known as pebbles. Now, why did he put pebbles all around? For privacy. What privacy are you talking about?
Ma'am, no, ma'am, because
So that
He's securing
ma'am,
it. He's trying to preserve the plant, and that is why he has put the pebbles all around it so that no one disturbs the plant. Now it will be in privacy because the plant is there in the middle, and all around there are pebbles. So no one is going to disturb the plant. Otherwise, anyone can think that it is just a maybe it is of no use and it can pull anyone can pull it out also. But once you see that the pebbles are all arranged around it, that means it is secured now. This is the reason why he has done this. And he sprinkled water also all around it. Yes, continue. Abhay Raj, continue.
So he stopped looking at it, except quickly, out of the corner of his eyes, and after a week or two, when he allowed himself to look at it properly, he found that it had grown at least an inch. That year, the monsoon rains come early and the cherry tree grew quickly in this season. It was about 2 feet high when a goat entered the garden and ate all the leaves. Only the main stem and two thin branches remained. Never mind, said grandfather. Seeing the Rakesh was upset. It will grow again. Cherry trees are taught. Towards the end of the rainy season, new leaves appear on the tree. Then a woman cutting glasses scrambled down the hillside. Her
Skip
skite
swishing through the
is
skip
missing
children
through
is
the
a instrument with
heavy
which she is
monsoon
ma'am,
and
cutting
by
the grass.
which,
falling.
Yes, it's a instrument for cutting grass.
ma'am, it is an instrument by which, ma'am, farmers cut their crops.
Yes, you can see in the picture also. Yes, yes, continue.
She did not try to avoid the tree. One sheep and the cherry tree was cut into two. When grandfather saw what had happened, he went after the woman and told her. But the damage could not be repaired. Maybe it
Okay,
will
stop,
die now,
stop,
said
stop,
Rakesh. Maybe.
stop. Zara, Zara, continue.
Yes, ma'am. Maybe it will die now, said Rakesh. Maybe, said grandfather. But the cherry tree had no intention of dying. By the time summer came round again, it had sent out several new shoots with tender green leaves. Rakesh had grown taller too. He was 8 now.
a sturdy boy with curly black hair and deep black eyes, blackberry eyes, said grandfather called them. That monsoon, Rakesh went home to his village to help his father and mother with the planting and plowing and sowing. He was thinner but stronger when he came back to grandfather's house at the end of the rains to find that the cherry tree had grown another foot. It was now up to his chest. Even when there was rain, Rakesh would sometimes water the tree. He wanted it to know that he was there. One day
Okay.
he found a
Okay.
bright
Stop. Harshit. 8A. Read. Harshit. Read. Satyam. Read. Zara, continue.
Okay, ma'am. One day he found a bright green praying mantis perched on a branch, peering at him with bulging eyes. Rakesh
Bulging.
let it remain there.
Bulging eyes.
Okay,
Bulge means to
okay,
eyes coming out. Bulging eye.
okay.
Coming out. Yes.
Rakesh let it remain there. It was the cherry tree's first visitor. The next visitor was a hairy caterpillar who started making a meal of the leaves. Rakesh removed it quickly and dropped it on a heap of dry leaves. They are pretty leaves, said Rakesh, and they are always ready to dance if there's a breeze. After grandfather had come indoors, Rakesh went into the garden and lay down on the grass beneath the tree. He gazed up through the leaves
Ma'am,
at the great blue
Yes.
sky.
excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, gazed का meaning of
Gaze means
gazed.
to stare. Stare. Gazed.
Leaves at the great blue sky, and turning on his side, he could see the mountain striding away into the
Striding.
clouds.
Striding means what is a stride, children? When you walk with a stride, what happens? You take big, big steps. Now here the clouds are striding, mountains striding away into the clouds. You can see big, big mountains there and the clouds moving on top of the mountain. That is called striding away into the cloud.
Striding away into the clouds. He was still lying beneath the tree when the evening shadows crept across the grass. Grandfather came back and sat down beside Rakesh, and they waited in silence until the stars came out and the nightjar began to call. In the forest below, the crickets and cicadas began turning up, and suddenly the tree was full of the sound of insects.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Ma'am, meaning of night jar.
Night?
Jar.
Where is it? Night jar.
Ma'am, last third line of page number 92.
Page 90?
2.
I can't find. Acha, night jar.
Page
Yes,
92,
yes,
last
yes.
third line.
Rakesh, and they waited in silence until the stars came out and the night jar began to call. These are all birds, insects, insects. These are insects, children. Crickets. Cricket is also insect. Night jar is also insect. They began to call. Call means making sound. Yes, continue fast because we are running out of time.
There are so many trees in the forest, said Rakesh. What's so special about this tree? Why do we like it so much? We planted it ourselves, said grandfather. That's why it's special. Just one small seed, said Rakesh, and he touched the smooth bark of the tree that had grown.
He ran his head along the trunk of the tree and put his finger to the tip of a leaf. I wonder, he whispered, is this that is this what it feels to be God?
Okay. Now with this, this chapter is complete. Now Sunday test, children, I think the test will be taken from this. So we can give you word meaning and all these, like what is the meaning of humility? What is the meaning?
Okay.
You will do some, if you have not done it, children, you will go look up the meaning and write it. Is it clear? Because
Yes,
when I
ma'am.
was doing, if you were not present, you will have to do it yourself. This time the test will be from this, and we will be giving you word meanings and all. It is not literature, so we cannot give you question answer. So from this only we have to give. This Sunday we will have English test, isn't it? Find words from the text which have the same meaning as the following. Yes, we have done it. Last class we did all this, but still if you have not done it, you will look up the word meaning and write it. Any other question, children? Any problem? The next class, children, we
No,
will be
ma'am.
starting with literature again. Yes? So we will be starting with
Okay, ma'am.
literature.
Yes, ma'am.
Next class, that is next Tuesday, you will come with literature book. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Bye. See you in the next class.
Bye,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am. Bye,
Yes?
Bye,
ma'am.
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 Bye.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.